Zach, it's happening again. Michael Saylor is at it again, buying Bitcoin and going absolutely wild here. Like a man possessed, he's buying more Bitcoin every week, and now new data has surfaced that's truly shocking, supposedly showing that MicroStrategy will become the most valuable company in the world in the future. We're going to take a very close look at that. We have new reports from Pakistan, which is now officially starting Bitcoin mining. This is being reported by Bloomberg. We also have new reports that Bitbonds could actually be launching soon. And this is what I told you just a few weeks ago, which could change everything here, because Bitbonds could make the Federal Reserve irrelevant, meaning the US central bank would lose more and more significance. And now there are very, very clear indications that this could happen in the next few weeks or months, that the first Bitbonds could launch here. Jerome Powell, the Fed chairman, will be giving a speech later today. We'll take a look at the most important things happening next week. It could really be a wild week ahead of us. But first, let's smash that like button down below. Anyone who doesn't like this right now is partly responsible for the Bitcoin price not pumping higher. We're seeing the Bitcoin price weaken a bit right now, but honestly, it's just a healthy correction. That's why you absolutely need to hit the like button now, so we can pump all the way to Valhalla. You can see it too, slight losses, but that shouldn't worry us, because the setup is still very, very bullish at the moment. Fred Krueger, for example, writes here, Bitcoin will double in the next 7 months. You don't want to be underexposed here right now. In other words, you don't want to have too few Bitcoin. That's always the risk. In my opinion, the bigger risk is having too few Bitcoin rather than too many. Of course, if you notice that you're sleeping restlessly, waking up at night, constantly checking the Bitcoin chart every 2 minutes, then you have to realize that in this case, you're overexposed. But most people around the world are hopelessly underexposed, because even now, 99% of people worldwide have 0% allocation to Bitcoin. And even if you only have something like 0.0001 Bitcoin here, even if you just have 1,000 euros in Bitcoin, you're already better positioned than 99% of people worldwide. The Bitcoin therapist says here that it wouldn't be a surprise if Bitcoin rises above 112,000 US dollars during the 3-day holiday weekend while TradFi is closed, and then goes up to 120,000 US dollars next week. Right now, it actually looks more like things are moving sideways, but of course, that's a bullish statement, which would mean that there could still be some, crazy surges today or something like that. Although, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration. To be honest, I have to add something here. I'm actually not sure. When I say a 3-day break, that probably means there won't be any stock trading in the US tomorrow. I haven't even checked what the reason for that is. Feel free to let me know in the comments below what's going on, whether the stock markets in the US are closed tomorrow. He also says, everyone is going to get rich in this bull market, and that's really, really interesting. The Bitcoin therapist here is also really focused on GameStop right now. He's posting a lot about GameStop, because many people believe that the next short squeeze won't happen with Metaplanet, but rather with GameStop. Now, I'm not saying you should throw your money in or anything like that, but there are definitely signs that this could happen, because we're already seeing a bit of front running with GameStop. And you keep hearing this now on Twitter, X, and so on, that a lot of people are actually betting on GameStop because the next short squeeze could happen here. And of course, when we talk about getting rich, we don't mean that you just go into Bitcoin, put in 1,000 euros, and then get a limbo. That's just wishful thinking. But being rich here also means being rich in self-sovereignty, rich in personal responsibility, rich in freedom. Because that's what Bitcoin brings to the table, not just financially. Of course, it helps you financially too, but it's also about embracing these other values. Then next week, we have some very, very interesting things coming up. Here it is again. On Monday, the markets are closed. Here it is again. That means a prediction from the Bitcoin therapist could still happen tomorrow. That tomorrow, the Bitcoin price could shoot up to 112,000. Then on Wednesday, we might have the next important thing, the Fed meeting minutes. So basically, the Fed meeting will be reviewed again. Reviewed again is also good German, and they'll probably share a few more pieces of information there. There will probably be another speech by Jerome Powell, I think. Then GDP data on Thursday, inflation data on Friday, and also consumer sentiment on Friday. So, a few interesting numbers that could once again lead to surprises and possibly to volatility. I saw earlier that Jerome Powell is also supposed to give a speech today at 8:40 p.m., right? Probably American time. I assume that's what it is. So if that's the case, I haven't double-checked it, but if that's really the case, then there could be some more volatility. Lately, Jerome Powell has been a real surprise. Sometimes he said strange things, sometimes the markets moved sideways, and often they sold off. Yeah, there were always some odd statements mixed in as well. A lot of people said, "Hey, Jerome Powell, what kind of job are you doing here?" And so on. But what is most exciting here are Michael Saylor's new purchases. And once again, He's posting his chart with the orange dots, which means he's already bought the Bitcoins, and tomorrow it will be announced how much Bitcoin he bought. Oh, check this out. Here comes the cat. Go ahead and drop a like for the cat. What are you trying to tell us? So, the cat wants to tell us, right, anyone who's bearish right now has lost control over their life. Start learning about Bitcoin right now and subscribe to the channel. Alright, so now we're going to keep watching Michael Saylor. He actually makes a very interesting statement, saying, I buy Bitcoin with money I can't afford to lose. And that's a really intense statement, because usually when it comes to investments, people always say, only invest money you can afford to lose. But here he's saying, oh, check out the cat, or she's going to go totally crazy. But here he's saying you should only put money into Bitcoin that you basically don't want to lose. And that's obviously a really good approach that he has here, because we all know that over time, Bitcoin gains purchasing power, while, for example, fiat currency keeps losing purchasing power. And that's why what he's saying here is true. You should only put money into Bitcoin that you're willing to transfer into the future. So basically, something that doesn't get destroyed here, doesn't get inflated away, or anything like that. And then we had a really interesting story here. I actually already predicted this. I said, hey Nakamoto, they could use bid bonds here. And with bid bonds, they could actually make the US central bank somewhat obsolete. And now David Baby actually writes here, learn the term bid bond. And that's a very clear hint that bid bonds are going to be launched here soon. That's super bullish, because it would mean bundling US government bonds together with Bitcoin. And then you could even make the Fed obsolete here, since you could simply offer much better terms. So, for example, if you could just issue bonds at 10% because they're over-collateralized with Bitcoin, meaning they're backed by Bitcoin, and then you also get a Bitcoin yield on top, and the bid bonds give you 10%, that's the US Treasury bond plus 4% or something like that. And then, of course, the Fed could become obsolete, because everyone would just buy bid bonds, and no one would buy US Treasury bonds anymore. I mean, that's obviously the hyperbole case. It might not be quite that extreme at first, but it would definitely massively increase the demand for Bitcoin. And then we also had the news that Pakistan has just announced it will provide 2,000 megawatts of electricity for Bitcoin mining. And that's obviously huge, that countries are now not only starting to buy Bitcoin on a large scale, but also getting into Bitcoin mining themselves. And the funny thing is, I even predicted this for you, because CZ also said that Pakistan is currently in negotiations with him, and that they're likely pursuing a Bitcoin strategy. And then I even reported on it and said, hey guys, it could very well be that this is the next Bitcoin nation, that in one way or another is going to bet on Bitcoin. And now that's exactly what happened. And in my opinion, it's an even more bullish approach to say, hey, we're not just buying Bitcoin, we're also mining Bitcoin. That's the same approach Bhutan is taking, because it's planned to be completely long-term and totally sustainable. And in Pakistan, they'll probably also have either surpluses or very cheap electricity. And then, of course, it's very profitable to do Bitcoin mining here. So from that perspective, this is a very bullish sign. But if you still have doubts, for example, about how Bitcoin will develop from here, or how, for instance, MicroStrategy will develop, then you should really take a very close look at the numbers I'm about to show you, because this is where the bull case for MicroStrategy becomes clear, and why MicroStrategy could become the most valuable company in the world, because it's just insane. Honestly, it really shocked me just now. I saw this earlier when I got up, and yeah, I totally freaked out, or rather lost it. Dirch flipped, what a word. So check this out. This is actually a presentation, and it's originally in English. But we're going to turn the sound down here, and I'll play it for you. I'll go through the slides and explain to you in German what's actually happening here. So, he calls it the mode thesis, meaning that MicroStrategy is going to skyrocket, and it's a Bitcoin Habu comparison. And here we can see various statistics. For example, here we see that MicroStrategy currently has 2.9 times as many Bitcoins as the US government. Then, if we go further, we see that MicroStrategy currently has 2.6 times as many Bitcoins as all public companies in the world combined. So all public companies, whether it's Tesla, Apple, Google, Nvidia, and so on. MicroStrategy owns 2.6 times as much as all publicly traded companies in the world. That also includes German companies, Chinese companies, and so on. Then, MicroStrategy currently has twice as many Bitcoins as all private companies in the world. That means, for example, companies that aren't publicly traded are included too, like family businesses and so on. And it's just absolutely insane. You really have to wrap your head around that. All the companies in the entire world. I mean, I don't even know how many companies there are in Germany. Let's say, in Germany there are 100,000 companies. In the US, there's another 500,000 companies, and so on. Wow, I just Googled it real quick. So, there are 359 million companies worldwide. And out of those 359 million, MicroStrategy owns twice as many Bitcoin as all those companies combined. That really shows just how massive their lead is, especially since there are always people, like Nakamoto or 21 Capital, who say they want to accumulate more Bitcoin than MicroStrategy. And then if we go further, we see here that MicroStrategy actually has 14% more Bitcoin than all private and public companies combined. So that includes both publicly traded and privately held companies that aren't listed on the stock exchange. Then here, MicroStrategy has 50 times as much Bitcoin as the Magnificent Seven. That is, Microsoft, Apple, Google. Then they have 28 times as much as the S&P 500, the most important index in the world, and 81% more Bitcoin than all the companies in the US combined. Now you can also take a look at the market cap here. MicroStrategy has, Tesla currently has a market cap that's 10 times higher than MicroStrategy's. Microsoft's market cap is 32 times higher than MicroStrategy's. Then the Magnificent Seven have a market capitalization that's 160 times greater than MicroStrategy, and the S&P 500 has 482 times the market capitalization of MicroStrategy. And here, all publicly traded companies together have 1,137 times the market capitalization of MicroStrategy. And is there anything else coming up? We'll have to see. Nope, that's it for now. And now here are the key takeaways. Okay, what do you take away from this? Is MicroStrategy really going to rise to the top here, to Olympus, if we look at how hopelessly far ahead the leaders are? The bullish thesis is that if the Bitcoin price were to rise to 1 million, 2 million, and so on, and MicroStrategy just keeps on holding, then step by step, their market capitalization would keep moving up toward the top 10 companies worldwide, then the top 5, top 3, top 1, and so on. Of course, that's not a given. It's just the absolute bull case. Feel free to let me know in the comments below what you think about it. I definitely found it fascinating to compare these numbers. By the way, as I've said many times before, just to mention this at the end, I keep getting all kinds of questions from people asking how to emigrate abroad. They see my videos here, how I sit on the terrace making videos and so on. Naturally, more and more people want to do that too, because Bitcoin also gives you that kind of flexibility. That's why on May 28th, there will be the next live emigration webinar. You can sign up for it below. It's completely free. There, I'll show you exactly how it works, how you can save money living abroad, how to avoid costly mistakes, what I did wrong, what I would do better in the future, what I learned from my own emigration, how all of this is connected to Bitcoin, and how you can simply take your life to the next level here. Feel free to sign up below if you want to create even more freedom in your life. Even if you're not planning to move abroad, you can still get a lot out of this. I guarantee you that. And if you want to buy Bitcoin, I'll also put a link below to 21 Bitcoin, where you can easily and securely buy Bitcoin. With the code BitcoinHotel, you can get up to 20% off the fees when buying Bitcoin. Guys, see you soon. Until then, peace out.